Hello and welcome back to You and I for the Kenai. As always, I'm with Eric in Coburn, and today we have Danielle here to share her story of recovery. Danielle, how are you today?
Oh, I'm pretty good. A little nervous.
Yeah?
But pretty good.
All these mics can be intimidating, I suppose. You got 4 mics now. We're professionals all of a sudden. So, Danielle, just to start, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm 28. I am from Soldotna, Alaska. I lived here my whole life. I have 2 beautiful daughters.
Cool.
Went to Soldotna High School, worked at Fred Meyer's, pretty much a regular
Yeah, the whole Soldotna to-dos, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
Awesome. I thought I recognized you from somewhere, and it must be from there, from Fred Meyer's, because I worked there for a while. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All the time. A lot of people are like, you really look familiar. I'm like, I probably helped you at some point.
small world.
Nice.
Did you, what did you like to do growing up? Was that also very Soldotna-y?
I did the regular, just outdoorsy stuff, but
Everybody here fishes, I swear.
Yeah, I did a lot of fishing. My parents weren't big, fishermen at all.
Sure.
Like, my dad never went fishing, but I remember as a kid, I would, pack up my fishing pole and, ride my bike down to the Kenai River and go fishing every day.
Yeah.
Never caught anything, because I'm pretty sure I was not doing anything right. But I was definitely trying all the time. Always went camping. As I got older, I really got into arts and into dance and some different sports. When I was in high school, I was on the dance team.
Nice.
What was your favorite type of, arts?
I like acrylic painting on canvas.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Yeah, I finally, when I started college, I was I'm not, super proud of this necessarily, but they were like, well, do you want to try for your Bachelor of Arts or your Bachelor of Science? And I'm like, well, a Bachelor of Science, obviously, arts, that's not, an academic thing.
What are you going to do with that?
Yeah,
really?
what am I going to do? And then finally, there were so many things that I just did not know, and they were like, dude, you need to learn some things, So I finally took my, basically, they, in a nice way, you need to learn things, man. And so I finally took my first, an art appreciation course, and that was super cool to, actually finally... oh, these are the different periods of art. These are the different types of art. And it was really cool because now, people talk about it or, you see certain things and you're like, oh, totally. I know what that's, yeah. So, I don't know. It's such a cool part of, the world once if you, actually...
know what you're talking about or looking
just,
at.
Yeah, or just, open to it a little bit. I don't know.
I had a really awesome teacher in... towards the end of middle school and during the first few years of high school who went through all the different periods of art and all the different kinds and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually figure out what I really liked.
Sure.
Because I was like, oh, yeah, I like art and I'm a good drawer and painter and stuff, but I really don't like making pottery.
Right.
Not good at that, and watercolor's not my thing. So.
Yeah.
I feel that. I definitely pulled a C in ceramics in high school.
Yeah.
Barely pulled a C.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily... So the drawing, I really had a hard... Because we had to make a little bit of art every week. So the drawing, that was challenging, I get, try hard, you can get better. But to an extent, it's kind of you need to practice. But to an extent, kind of sometimes... Maybe this is, totally not cool to say. But it seems like maybe you have it, and maybe you don't,
Yeah.
And I'm just dang, dude, I do not have it. And so the drawing was hard, but then we did a screen printing kind of thing, and that was a little bit more you kind of figure out what you wanted to do, and then you could really take your time and be a little more methodical about it, I guess. You could make your stencil, and then you could sponge paint through your stencil and make these little designs, and that was a little bit, I don't know, it took a little less pure, I don't
Talent.
know, flicks of the wrist, and a little bit more I don't know, a little bit of designing and then connecting the dots kind of gig. I don't know.
More structured.
Yeah,
That's
more
kinda
structure,
what,
dude. More structure.
If you do A, B, and C, you'll get the result you
Yeah,
want.
not just go make this happen.
Yeah.
Look at you applying science to art.
Less pure creativity.
There's a little bit more structure, yeah.
For sure.
So after high school, what were you? What were your dreams, your plans, your?
I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
I'm just that kind of a person. Like, as a kid, of course, I wanted to be everything and anything.
Yeah.
I could never narrow it down. They'd always be like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I'm like, I don't know, and it's too stressful to think about.
Yeah,
I want to do everything because
Yeah.
I like a lot of different things,
Cool.
But and I think that's part of the reason why I kind of got trapped where I was, and I ended up staying at Fred Meyer's. I started there when I was 16. And they started paying me really well, and I had, great insurance and everything, and I had met my ex-husband at the time, and, it would just seem like exactly where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Good paying job in town, started a family, basically. And, and it was and everything was kind of too scary. It was too scary to go try new things when you're already so stable where you're at.
Yeah.
Totally.
Definitely.
I get that. Like, especially as I'm, getting older, I definitely feel like that draw to just stay, like, even if you're like, there's some parts of like my life at this point that I would like to change, but then there's like, but these things there may not be the greatest, but at least they offer like some parts of stability, some parts of security, I've been thinking about, not to get all like whatever, but I've been thinking about that a lot lately, like how often like just that general sameness, that consistency, that like fear of, man, like I'm like, if I change these things up, like it would probably be better, but then it's like, but at least I know what I have now, like if I keep doing what I'm doing, this will probably stay the same. Like it could get better, but dude, you don't know. There's some guessing. There's
the
that
classic
fear.
gamble, man.
I get that.
You never realize how many people will actually live their lives miserable for their whole entire lives out of fear of changing something.
Yeah, that's hard.
And you see that a lot. Like, that's why people don't really understand abusive relationships, domestic violence, stuff like that, because even though that it's wrong, what's going to happen. And the fear of change, whether it's bad, the outcome is good or bad, the fear of change is way more terrifying than
the
the
possibilities
of what is what's going to happen to you every day.
Different is always scary.
Yeah.
Pretty synonymous in a lot of contexts, for sure.
Isn't there a quote that's like, better the devil you know than the one that you don't? Something like that, basically.
Sure. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
So,
when you look at your life, you don't realize how much you live your life out of fear.
Yeah.
Right.
What stopped you from doing a lot of things or moving forward or trying different things.
Yeah, that's...
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately, especially because you think, like, I don't know, if you start to get, like, frustrated or whatever and you want to make these changes, I guess I get, like, when I was a kid, I thought, like, dude, I could never... Well, obviously, because this is part of being a kid. I'm like, I could never work 8 to 5 all day, every day. But then you do, like, as you get a little bit older, you're like, hey, man, if all I got to do is get to work at 8 and be done at 5, and I get this basic guarantees of security, like, I guess I get it, like, it starts to all this idea of, like, well, at least I know these things are going to happen, like you said. So.
Yeah, I know I'm going to make this amount of money on this day every single day.
Even if you hate it, like, at least you got some guarantees. Yeah,
exactly.
No doubt.
So what happened to where? Because obviously you don't work at Fred Meyer anymore.
No.
So when did some changes start to happen? Whether you sought them out or whether they kind of happened.
Well, to be totally honest, I was fired.
Sure.
So that's when my drug use had started getting out of control.
Sure.
Was towards the end. I had worked there for 11 years.
Okay. So you're 27.
I'm 28.
You were 27.
Yes, I was 27.
Yeah.
But
right. Because you started when you were 16.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess 10 years then.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was like a year when I had
whatever,
like another job at the same time, and
yeah.
some of those years are kind of blurry also.
Yeah. Sure.
But it was that whole mundane, like, I hated my job so much that I actually wished that I would get in a car accident, just enough to like break an arm or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go, but it was the fear that kept me there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the stability. I knew exactly what I was going to make every single day, and through that and a lot of other factors, my drug use.
Do you
really...
think that kind of more or less enabled your drug use? Because you're getting your paycheck this time, this day, every 2 weeks.
Oh,
You're going to go get what you need on this day after you get paid.
Absolutely.
Kind of schedule it together. Yeah.
I knew on midnight at Thursday at midnight every week that I was going to have this amount of money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I was going to have. And because I had a good job and people knew me, they would just give me what I wanted on top of it if I didn't have money.
Yeah, they'd front you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely enabled it quite a bit.
Do you think that, like, because, I mean, you didn't like your job so much that, did you think that the usage was kind of escape from reality, so you didn't have to think about all the stuff that, going back into work whenever, or...
Absolutely. I mean, it just wasn't work. I mean, I had a lot of home life
Quite
problems
broad, yeah.
also,
Right.
A lot of different trauma from childhood. I suffer from severe depression, PTSD, childhood trauma, and just that kind of work on top of it. And I was always in physical pain.
Oh, wow.
I was supposed to have 2 back surgeries, and they wanted me to have like a hip replacement within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But I wouldn't do it. So I was like, and they just kept giving me drugs and drugs and drugs to cover up the pain. And finally, when my insurance ran out and everything, and heroin just worked a lot better.
Yeah.
It was a lot cheaper and way more accessible. So
Yeah.
Right.
So was that where it kind of started, is that you're like, wow, I'm not in pain, and then they're like, well, we can't give you this anymore, and you're like, this is constantly like hell, basically, and so I need something that will...
That's what really helped jump it up. I mean, I started drinking and smoking weed when I was 12 years old.
Sure.
And then through high school, I definitely partied a lot. You know, I was still a good kid. I still maintained my grades. I was never in trouble. You know, I was going to work during high school also, and I was on the dance team, and I was managing everything. But it was, towards the end there, that's when my drug problem definitely got way out of control. I mean, I ended up getting married. I was in a very physically and mentally and emotionally abusive relationship.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 20. My daughter was born when I was 24.
Okay.
I was 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had my first daughter, Elizabeth, when I was 23. And we got married the year after that. And then I had my second daughter the next year. That's... As soon as I had both my kids, that's when the violence really started getting really bad. It started getting really bad. It was always scary at home. Then going to work, hated my job.
Yeah.
And I was so isolated from any friends or family. And that's what happens in those kind of situations. You know, you become isolated and to where that's the only person in your life. And that's why you end up staying in that situation for so long.
That makes sense.
So after I had lost my job... I ended up losing my kids, basically gave them away to OCS when they were 1 and 3. And right after that is when things got really bad. Before, my kids kind of kept me in line somewhat. You know, I knew that I had to have this,
Yeah.
you know, the kids need this and that. And
Sure.
That paycheck's coming on Thursday at midnight, and I can only spend this much.
Well, I actually ended up working... getting fired from Fred Meyer's after that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Sorry about that.
I was working on the side, you know, and stuff. And, But when they were taking it, it was kind of like, now I don't have anything holding me back kind of thing. You know, everything's gone.
Right.
You know?
Plus, that must have hurt a lot to have to do that, so I imagine that did not help with the situation.
It was very, very hard.
Yeah.
You know, people always say they were taken by OCS, and like I say, I gave them up to OCS basically because I chose to do these other things before being a proper mother, you know. And so I made those decisions, and those were the consequences to those decisions, basically.
Yeah.
And that's when my drug use just got out of hand. Just out of hand, like I stopped working completely. I would disappear for months at a time. I started using IV, heroin, and methamphetamine, and then as it got worse and worse, I ended up racking up a criminal record.
Sure.
Ended up in jail, You know,
This was mostly like to maintain your
habit. Basically, at this point, I mean, that was the only thing I had to do. I mean, I didn't think about food.
No.
I didn't think about anywhere to live. I mean, it wasn't even a thought in my mind. Basically, all day, every day, my mission was to get high, go to the next place and get high. Go to the next place and get high. There was no thoughts. I mean, I tried doing the visitations, and I would show up for a week or two, and then I would just wouldn't make it again and again. And then I'd show up for a week or two, and then I wouldn't make it again and again, over and over and over with my kids. And, you know, finally that became too much to even handle, and it was, you know, all the guilt and the shame of everything. I just had to block it all out. And that's why I just started using even more and more and harder and harder. And it was probably a year from when I was managing things and everything was kind of put together to just done. I had racked up a criminal history, been in and out of jail, had signed up to go to treatment twice and left. I tried to quit on my own several times.
You left, like you went to treatment for like a day or two
I didn't
and then
really
left,
quite
or were
make
you just
it.
kind of like, filled out half an application and then...
I filled out the application. The first time I filled out the application here. Detoxed at my parents' house. Detoxed at my parents' house, and then ended up just going for a walk and not coming back.
Sure.
And a few months later, I did the same thing with my uncle. Filled out the paperwork, went for a walk, didn't come back. Detoxed everything. You know, I could not stop getting high. It's the truth of it. I could not stop getting high.
I know you've probably talked about it before, and some other people have talked about it too, but so you can't stop, just like from a personal perspective, like what is that like? You know, you're trying, do you say like, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna, or like this is my last one? Do you have like 100 last ones, or were you like...
I had done that hundreds of times, and finally I stopped, and the only way I can describe it is that I would literally be sitting there, and I'd be crying, and I'd be going, stop, don't do this, don't give them your money, why are you here, why are you buying more dope, stop it. I'd be crying as I'm shooting myself up, because I physically could not do it. My brain would be sitting there telling me, stop, don't do this. And with everything, as honest as I could sit here today and tell you that I did not want to get high. I didn't. I absolutely did not want to get high. But it was like my body was starting to do it on its own. And no matter what I did, I could not stop. And I'd be sitting there bawling, begging not to do this, trying to get high. I mean, it's a really horrible, horrible place to be. And it's really undescribable unless you've been in it. But that's the only way I can describe it, is feeling like you're trapped inside and you're sitting there going, no, don't do this. And your body is physically doing something for you.
That is hell, man. Like,
and you can't stop it. You know?
Surreal compulsion.
It really is. It's like you can literally look out at it from an outside point of view, like you're not even in your body anymore. You're looking at it going, don't do that. You can't stop yourself.
And some of the you know, the research and the classes I've taken that have kind of touched on addiction, essentially one of the things that it comes to is that your brain quickly, like the survival parts of your brain quickly learns and prioritizes and like actually believes that like this substance is super necessary to survival. And so when you say like don't do this, when you're saying that, you're sitting there and saying like don't do this, if it is prioritizing it like it is survival, like it is like air, it'd kind of be like holding your breath and telling yourself don't breathe. But you're going to breathe, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to breathe. So that's kind of what that, like, I mean...
That's exactly...
It's probably what it feels like. You're like,
I'm
just going to not breathe. And then eventually, like, I breathe, you know?
No doubt.
And, that's torture, you know, as, like... Because, I mean, essentially, humans, I mean, we're built, like, to survive, you know? I mean, we prioritize... Like you said earlier, you know, you were prioritizing... You didn't think about eating. You didn't think about... I mean, you were just thinking about, you know, like... Essentially, like, you were in, like, I need this drug to survive zone completely, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's
You
it.
know?
That's basically what it comes down to. It's
Yeah.
like that's what you think your survival is dependent on.
Yeah.
Is
And that happens
that high.
fast from from a lot of the people we've talked
Absolutely.
to. I mean, we've seen it range everywhere from first time to 3 months, and I was in. I mean, you're saying it took a year and you were fully invested. That's, I think, the longest time span that we've heard.
Well,
since
and I
we've
had
doing
been
these.
using drugs and alcohol for 13 years prior to this.
Yeah.
But my life was manageable. Everything was still put together and just fine and working out just
Functioning,
well.
at least.
Functional.
Kind of had that structure because you had the kids, so you knew you had to do this by this
Yeah.
time, and everything's.
I had the kids, I had the job, I had the house, and I was married, everything
Right.
was
Seemingly shipshape.
Then you
exactly.
lose a structure, but gain just tons of guilt, and that must have just crushed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I eventually, it sounds weird, but I'm so happy that it happened to me. But we call it the gift of desperation, basically. And I didn't have anything left. I had tried everything, but I ended up waking up in the hospital. I had 2 surgeries on my arm. You guys can see the scar. I had a blood clot in my arm. And all I remember from going into the hospital and actually waking up from the surgery was the doctor coming in and talking to me, and I don't remember much. I kept blacking out from the pain.
Did you go to the ER? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
Was this
I didn't
from-
want to go.
Yeah, was this from...
I was like,
Probably from
no.
shooting up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, no,
You got,
I'm
like,
not
a
going.
blood clot?
Yeah, I'm not going. It'll be fine. I don't know I didn't know what it
Yeah.
was, but I was like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I was literally dragged into the ER.
Yeah.
One of your parents or your friend or something?
Just a friend that
Somebody-
happened to go by.
They were like, you have got to go.
Yeah. Who is
Yeah.
also, I mean, when an addict tells you you need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, who also
probably need to
shooting
go.
Up. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
you got to go, yeah.
And I just barely remember. I remember him talking to the doctor. I don't really remember talking to the doctor. And then I passed
'Cause
out.
Were you like dying from this thing, or were
Yes.
you super high?
I was dying. I couldn't even get high.
Yeah, because
And I thought that the up thing is I thought that if I got high,
it wouldn't hurt.
it
as
would-
bad.
it would
It'd go
hurt.
away.
It'd be
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
that's all I needed to do was get high.
Yeah,
And it will go away. Everything will be fine.
yeah.
They didn't want to do surgery here. They wanted to send me to Seattle, but they did not think that I would make it to Seattle.
Wow.
And then I remember the chaplain coming in and blessing me before I went to surgery. I woke up for just a few seconds while he did that, and I went back out because they did not think I was going to make it through the surgery.
Yeah.
They were really scared that the blood clot was going to release and go to my heart and kill me. So when I woke up in the hospital, and I spent about 2 weeks in the hospital, I called Sherry here at Serenity House, and I remember just crying on the phone, begging her to come pick me up and take me to treatment because I knew that if I left that hospital,
You were gonna get high.
I was
your
gonna
blood
go get
clot was
high.
gone. I mean, you'd be good.
there was no way that I was
Yeah.
going to walk just across the parking lot to go to treatment,
No.
no matter how badly I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
just cried, and I was like, I'm so sorry for not showing up before. Please come get me or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that's what they talk about,
That
there's only
desperation.
3 ways to go, and it's jails, institutions, and death.
Yeah. For sure.
I had already been to jail. I was in an institution. I
And you
didn't
weren't
want to
trying
die.
to die. Yeah.
There was a tiny bit of me that didn't want to die.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
But being in the hospital for about 2 weeks, enough to clear my mind, I didn't want to die anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what really started my whole road to recovery. I was in inpatient treatment, residential treatment for almost 80 days. I had a wound back on my arm.
At Serenity?
Yeah, at
Okay.
Serenity House.
Wow, 80 days. Okay.
Yeah. I had a wound back on my arm, so I had to go to the hospital 3 times a week and get it changed out and everything. And I had to give myself blood thinner shots in my stomach every morning. Plus, I was doing like all the groups, and I had finally gotten in contact with OCS. And I mean, I really, by the time I got to Spring House, I didn't think that there was any way I would ever see my children again.
Sure.
I didn't think that I could ever live a normal life. I didn't care.
That's got to be a daunting
About-
thought to think that for the rest of your life you're never going to see your children again.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
I really
scary.
thought it was completely just not even concept in my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything that was going to happen to me. All I wanted to do was not die.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And I would do anything to not die. And so when I was in there, I just absorbed everything. And I just let these people help me and love me. And I just did everything that I was told. And I just clung on to these people because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I just know I'm not supposed to get high.
Yeah.
And that was what it was for the first 90 days, the first 3 months. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I just know that I don't want to get high.
Yeah.
And so I did every single thing that they told me to do. And they started taking me to meetings. I got a sponsor who I absolutely adore. She's become one of my best friends now.
Yeah.
And
How quickly so you said how many days at Serenity? 80?
almost 80 days,
Okay.
yeah.
And did you get a sponsor while you were in Serenity?
I did.
How long, just a few weeks in or what?
Yeah, it was about 2 to 3 weeks in.
Okay, because I'm not trying to, out of these podcasts and out of all the people we talk to, I guess I'm definitely not trying to be like, this is what you should do, obviously. But one of the things that the people that we've sat down and talked with who are, 3 months, 6 months, a year, they've all gotten sponsors, and they have all gotten sponsors pretty quickly.
And it seems like they've all been super influential in their road to recovery.
And they're all not necessarily always we're super duper tight, but they're always we're always in contact, somebody I can rely on,
Absolutely.
Sounds like has your sponsor been pretty?
That's how my sponsor was. And
Sure.
it was like, you have to put in the effort, so you need to call me every day kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started. I mean, not every single day because she worked at the house sometimes, so I got to see her most of the time. So it was kind of a cop-out for me. But
Sure.
for the most part, as soon as I got out of treatment, I was on the phone with her every single day.
Yeah.
And there's 5 things that they tell you to do. And if, all the other stuff that we do is great. It's healing, trauma work, PTSD work, talking about your feelings, going, counseling, mental health therapy, all that stuff. That's all great. But there's 5 things that you're supposed to do. And it's get a sponsor, go to meeting, work steps, get a home group, and be of service.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basic of any recovery program, NA or AA.
5 things. Okay.
Yeah.
What are those? Get a sponsor.
Go to meetings. Work steps. Get a home group. Be of service.
So a home group, is that a meeting, like a hub meeting that you consistently go to? I always go to my Wednesdays at 10 or whatever.
Yep. I go to every Saturday at 7 o'clock at the College Heights Baptist Church. That's my home group meeting.
Cool. All right, home group.
You get involved that way.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you accountable. People get to know you, and they see you. And when they don't see you, there's people to reach out and be like, hey, what's going on? Why haven't you been there?
Yeah.
Because it is so easy for us to start falling off.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to make these connections with these people.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And I guess when people have talked about sponsors, and then I think okay, a lot of what they've talked about is accountability. Mm-hmm. But then it seems like a home group, although they might hold you accountable, part of that might be some accountability. Also, it's I think a little, maybe it sounds like some accountability, but a little bit less, just straight up social support, social connection, and just some real friendships.
And that's what it is. I mean, that's what I do on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I'm at an AA meeting. That's where all my friends are. That's where I see everyone I know. My kids come with me. It's a very family-oriented group.
Cool.
There's lots of other children there.
Yeah.
It's very family-like. We celebrate birthdays. We all watch each other's progress.
Yeah.
We share our stories. And you get to know people on a deeper level if you want to. It's how much you want to put into it. It's how much you want to get to know people. Mm-hmm. And that was really difficult for me because I was I don't want to know anybody. I don't want to be anyone's friend. I don't like people. No.
Yeah. And
sometimes I still have that attitude, but that was my attitude most of my life. I remember my dad calling me bitter one day. You're such a bitter person. You don't like anybody.
I am not.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I like people that aren't stupid.
It's your fault.
Exactly. But, and so that's when I really wanted to start. I don't want to be that person. I want to be a better person. People say I'm unapproachable, I'm intimidating. all this stuff, and it's more just because I'm reserved and quiet. But
Sure.
that's where, my step work and stuff really helped me change stuff like that. I used it at first just to stay sober.
Yeah.
That's what I just wanted to stay sober. I had to, accept my disease. And it was hard for me to admit that it was a disease because I was like, no, it's a choice. Like, I made bad fucking choices. Bad things happen. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's how life works.
Yeah.
If I would have just stopped doing drugs, none of these bad things would happen to me.
Yeah.
But it's like, when I really thought about what I was talking about earlier, like, I couldn't stop.
Yeah, you had to breathe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to. And that's when I accepted that it was a disease and that I am a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. It's that simple. And I have my active addiction play in other parts of my life. I mean, you can't buy a box of Post-its and leave it in my house and think it's going to be there in an hour.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I have no willpower over it whatsoever. Netflix, I am like stuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Cannot stop.
I relate to that a little too well.
Yeah, I binge watch TV, and I will literally cancel appointments.
Yeah.
I will not show up. I will isolate myself, and I'm just like, no, I need to finish the last season of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I have to finish.
Yeah. I know on Amazon Video, I think they might have done the same thing on Netflix across some other ones, but I know on Amazon Video you can skip intros now, you can skip the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
And
Literally
so
the
now
best
you
thing
can
ever.
skip them like, hallelujah.
Oh my gosh.
We're back in it.
On
Let's go.
Netflix, I can skip the recap, and I'm like, I already know what happened.
Yeah, I know, been there. Let's go. No.
Oh, dude, the worst is the "Are you still watching?" thing.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's why
Why do you
it's
ask
on.
me stupid questions?
What are you trying to say?
Get out of my life.
Some people call it binging. I call it dedication.
Yeah. So one question is you work steps. It sounds like majority, most of the time, with your sponsor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I work steps with my sponsor. I have sponsees that I work their steps through, and every time that you work a set of steps, even with a sponsee, you're in that step and you're working that step.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh,
Yeah.
so your sponsor, if you're gonna work a step, I know some of these, a lot of them are, they sound hard. Really hard, right?
Is it-
Taking a moral inventory and admitting all of these things, and then telling somebody that's daunting. Then you have to make amends, right? Yeah. That's hard. These all sound really hard,
It is really hard.
but freeing as well.
It
yeah.
is very freeing.
Sure.
I can't even explain. I think everybody, even just normal people,
should work some steps. Yeah.
I am do
Yeah.
it. It will change your life.
Yeah.
So
how long do they? Sorry, go ahead.
So where do you find these steps? Or do you have it memorized? Is there a lot of them? Or
It's different how everyone works steps. Narcotics Anonymous has a workbook that you can work steps out of.
okay.
AA works steps out of the big book.
Right.
But
Right.
they're all the same.
Yeah,
You know,
and they're all
basically,
there's
yeah.
12 steps.
12-step program.
There's,
Oh,
there are
okay.
12
Yeah.
steps. They're
Okay.
One is admitting you're powerless, your life's become manageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. I laughed at that one because I was like, I kind of believe in a higher power, but I'm crazy. That's never going to
Sure,
change.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
3, making a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand Him. And that's something that I do every single day, several times a day. Several times a day. If there's... I have to be okay, I know that I really want to do this, but obviously it's not in the cards today.
Yeah.
And let it go.
Yeah, and I know some people, because I know AA, they say your higher power doesn't necessarily need to be your neighbor's higher power, right?
Nope.
Some people's higher power is super maybe I don't know, just very classical Western, Christ based, where others might be super Eastern based, in a Hindu system, where others might just be simply basically there's a whole lot of people in the world. There's so many forces going on. I can't really control everything, so I'm just going to admit that I don't have total control. And I think that AA has found a way. I know that it can still be difficult like to converse like in higher powers, and some people are going to want to be, you know, religion, they say, you know, like a bar or whatever. That's a bad topic to use right now,
The
but
two
like
things you don't touch on, religion and
wherever,
politics.
you know, like you don't talk religion
And politics.
yeah. But like it's, I guess, nice that it seems like I know some programs are like, you know, this program is actually those who are going to embrace this, you know, kind of section of higher power belief, you know, this kind of doctrine. However, like, it keeps it pretty open, which I think is...
And that's, I mean, I was trying to find it in here, but that's exactly what it talks about, is that our higher power is whatever you want it to be.
Sure.
You know, it can be...
So bigger than you.
It just has to be bigger than you.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes for me, I just have to think about the world is going to turn.
Yeah.
Things
Whether
are going to
you want it
happen,
to or not.
whether I want it or not. I can sit here and try to be Superman and turn it back and make it stop,
Yeah.
or I can just go with it.
Yeah.
The people and everything in the world is going to do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
You know? I can't change that.
Yeah.
I can either...
That's freeing.
I can change my reaction
Sure.
Right.
to how I deal with it.
From a lot of the stories we've heard, what I was just going to say real quick, from a lot of stories we've heard, it seems the more people, especially with addictive personalities, tend to seek control, the less control you end up having. Because like you said, like I didn't want to. I didn't want to use anymore. I was done. I didn't want to, but I had to. Absolutely had to. And it sounds like that comes from you were seeking control of the things you couldn't control. You hated your job. You know, and instead of trying to seek a new job, and that's scary, you know, that back to that different being scary thing. Instead of seeking a new relationship, you're in an abusive relationship. Instead of seeking a new life habits, you seek control through masking that, you know, and where
try
you
to
end up
fix
losing the
all
control
that
in general.
stuff and make it all better in the house, but really you don't have control.
Right.
You know, it's like and that's the one thing, you know, we realize that our lives are run, our self will run riot. That is the definition of an alcoholic or an addict. Every time that I run my life, I run it into the ground.
Sure.
It's really simple.
Yeah.
You know, every time that I think it's a good idea, and this is what everyone should do, and this is how it should be done, things get messed up.
Yeah.
It does not work. I end up hurting somebody's feelings. They get mad. They don't want to deal with me, you know, because I'm being bossy, controlling, telling them that what they're doing is not right. You should do it my way. Then everyone will be happy, but really I will be happy.
Dang.
You know.
This is right in the feelings.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Dude. Right in the feelings, man. Come on.
You
You can't
I
see
didn't do
who
anything to you.
And when I do that, I'm telling them what they
Yeah.
do is that they don't know, that they're stupid, that they need to be told. You know? That's really what I'm telling somebody, even though I'm trying to be nice and I'm just trying to help them.
No,
I'm
get
just
it.
trying to help you. Really?
Yeah.
If you just listen to me, everything would be better.
And
I
I think
feel
everybody
you.
does that, man. Everyone tells you what to do because that's just what they think is best. It's not because they want you to do poorly. No one wants you to really
But
do
it's
that
how the other
poorly.
people perceive it. And
Yeah.
when somebody tells you what to do, like if I came in here and was like, let me show you how to do a podcast here. You know, you'd be like, really? And who the fuck are you, right?
No, I mean, he's,
I'd probably be like, yeah,
he's
go
open
ahead,
to
man.
it. Yeah, he
I'd
could
probably
use
be like,
it,
go ahead,
honestly.
man.
Yeah, that's cool.
But, you know, if I come in and
that'd be
try to tell
fun.
you how to do your job,
No kidding.
you know,
Right.
Yeah,
those people
yeah,
get
I
a little
know.
defensive and they're like, oh, well, you know better, that you think I'm stupid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, you know. I don't tell people what to do. I mean, I like to give suggestions. I'm like, hey, if you do this,
Strong
it might help you
suggestions.
a lot. But you can do whatever you want. And that's
Yeah.
what I tell my sponsees. You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
You know, we suggest that you do
Strongly
this, and this, and
suggest.
that.
Yeah,
But if you don't do that,
it's cool.
your life is not going to change. And that's on you, not on me.
Yeah,
More or
sure.
less laying it out for people. Like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but if you do this, this, and this are probably going to happen on the good end. If you do this, this, and probably going to happen on the bad end. It's your choice, but I mean...
Someone
That's
told
what I
me,
would do.
we can do whatever you want in your recovery. You can do whatever you want, as long as you're willing to accept the consequences.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which that's scary. I mean, I guess to me.
And that's how I treat my children today. I
Yeah.
say, okay, you know what? You have the choice now. Next time you get upset, you can hit your sister, and you can get a timeout, and you don't get what you want, or you can come and tell mom that you're upset, and I'll try and fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, you made the choice to hit your sister. Well, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, They are 3 and 5. They need somebody to tell them what their options are.
Yeah.
3-year-old, you took my toy, whack.
Right.
That's as far as their thought process goes.
Yeah.
But that's how it works, I mean, nobody controls me. Why do I think it's okay to control other people?
Yeah.
And the more I try to control other people, the more upset I get, the more upset they get.
Yeah.
And then,
And the
things
less
are going
control you
crazy,
have.
and I'm all like,
and
next
the
thing
less
I know,
you have, yeah.
I'm at the bar, and I'm like, you know what? Screw those people. Drink.
Yeah. I know Aaron and I, we're brothers, and he just, in real life, and I know some people, they meet us and 2 minutes in, are you brothers? And then other people, at the mall, a couple weeks ago, were like, oh no, we're brothers, and this woman would not believe us. So it's hard. Some people are like, dude, you're brothers. Yeah, half brothers. Anyway, he moved up 6 weeks ago, and that's dude, he's like, you're just like mom. You're so controlling, and I a lot of times, dude, I got to be I'll be definitely throwing some shade, dude, that's stupid, that doesn't make any sense, and then I have to go back and I'm like, man, you're an adult, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't treat you like that. And so, when you're saying, it's exhausting. But,
It is exhausting.
So, no, I get it. Giving that up is hard, but, definitely
It's extra exhausting for us because we're polar opposites in pretty much every facet of life.
Yeah.
You couldn't see it earlier, but as Danielle was talking about that topic, Eric was just kind of slowly sinking his chair, and Aaron just aggressively pointing at him. Like, ew!
People don't have to agree, and they can coexist. I mean, me and my boyfriend, we've been together for over a year. Not once have we ever raised our voices at each other.
Yeah.
We might disagree. We do not argue.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't agree on anything. We don't like the same food. We don't like the same movies. We don't like the same music. We totally live our lives completely different.
Yeah.
But we coexist just fine because he is his own person and I am my own person. My children are their own people. They do what they're going to do, and I can either be there and support it and help them when they ask for help, not when they don't ask for help, when they ask.
Right.
Because they are people and they know when they need help.
Yeah.
Clear-cut communication.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or I can sit there and try and tell them what to do, and I can be, an angry mom always yelling at my children and a naggy bitch of a girlfriend always being like, you need to clean this, you need to do that, you need to do this.
And that's probably how you end up with a
I don't want to be that person.
No.
I don't want
It's
to be
exhausting. Yeah, no, it's exhausting. Trust me. It's really tiring. It's really
Nobody
tiring.
else wants to hear that.
No,
I don't
but-
want to be that person.
Yeah.
No.
Eric is literally dying right now.
I don't want people to think that about me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm like, if you, just put the clothes in the laundry basket, it wouldn't be such a mess.
Yeah, no, dude, I literally told my brother yesterday, I said, I think I'm going to make a sign. Because we rent this basement of this house, and upstairs a couple of teenage kids and their mom live there, and sometimes the teenagers leave